Super excited to talk about the album. It's just been such a crazy journey doing a live worship project in a year of the weirdest pandemic that I've ever lived through. So,
Sure.
yeah, that wasn't the plan. Usually a live worship project, you plan to have the people, but no, it ended up being one of the most beautiful experiences for me, and just getting such amazing responses from people of them loving it. So my heart is full. I'm really glad we went ahead and did it, and I'm loving it.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit. Um, so you did the record. Like, tell me how you got to that live recording. Like, maybe just give a little detail on how on earth did you pull that off in this year?
Yeah, that is a huge question. We had written for 2 years prior to this year, and so the plan was to record this year at some point before the pandemic hit. That was the plan. We also would have been touring, and so there was this like kind of question mark in our minds of like, I wonder when we'll record. And so when the blessing happened and we released that like a week before the pandemic hit, and then just began to watch what was happening, we just felt really strong to go ahead and record the album. I felt like the Lord said lean in towards June, and this was in April. And I remember my conversation with the Lord that night was kind of like, I'm sorry, are you aware that there's this crazy pandemic happening and people aren't leaving their homes? I was just wondering. And I felt like, of course I knew he knew. That's a silly thing, but just in my heart, I was like, oh, why do I keep feeling like I'm supposed to lean in on this? But I just did. I felt like we were supposed to keep going forward. So we ended up in June doing a pre-production retreat with our team, and we'd been quarantined together, and so we just felt like really peaceful about that. And so we did, and it was so strong. Everything was coming together, and so we just were like, well, let's just plan to record as soon as, we can have worshipers in the room. And then we realized quickly that that was not going to be any kind of thing that was going to happen soon. And so I just kind of felt like, you know what? We're ready to go. Pre-production was so strong. We just worshiped together as a team in the round. Let's just set up like that on stage. Let's pivot with what we were planning on with video, and let's do it in the round and create a really beautiful setting. So it's kind of where all that inspiration came from, with the white light boxes and just the whole
Yeah.
yard. So we just thought we would go in on it, and so we did. And I'm really glad that we just trusted God.
We talked to Cody right at the beginning of the pandemic, right when you just come out with the blessing, the elevation one, um, and he was telling us just how crazy of a moment that those original kind of sessions were, and then we also talked
Hmm.
to Dom, the drummer, and he got his perspective. So I'd love to hear like kind of what was going through your mind, um, and that original kind of forming of the song.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, you're wanting to know more like the day we wrote it, or even just like what happened at Elevation?
Just both, it
Yeah,
was sounded like it was just so driven by the Holy Spirit from both of their perspectives. So I'm
yeah,
just curious what was kind of going through your mind and your head, that
yeah.
time.
So that day was really beautiful. We wrote a different song for like 8 hours that day. And so, naturally we were like pretty tired, pretty spent. But right at the end, Pastor Stephen Furtick grabbed his guitar and was like, man, I've always wanted to write a song around the benediction, around this idea of number 6. And he started singing a different melody, but that idea of that kind of song. And then he like played it for a second, and he was like, I don't know, we could just demo this other one and go home, or do y'all want to lean in on this? And we were all like, we really think we should lean in on that something about that feels extremely timely and really sweet. So we stayed for a few more hours, and we did. And I just remember thinking that night, like, this feels really special and so timely, for even if it was just my own heart. I don't know, it just felt really sweet. And then that weekend was when we realized, like, oh my gosh, there is something really powerful on this song. And we could kind of tell that just from the vibe in the room. And um, oddly enough, from like reposts and reshares on socials, because people were sharing these 15-second clips of the weekend.
Mm.
And people are like, where can I find this? Where can I find this? I want to hear this song. We're like, it's not even out yet. We literally just wrote it. And so that kind of played a role into us realizing, like, we've got to get this out. Like, there's something about this that people are really wanting this, and let's just jump on it. So thankfully we did.
Yeah, how's your like how's it been seeing, I mean, there's been so many like groups from all over the world doing versions of it, and it just really has, I mean, for my personal church, it almost has been the anthem for the COVID
Mm,
period, you know? So like
right.
how is that, just watching it grow like that?
Yeah, it's been really such a beautiful experience, especially, I've been doing worship music for quite some time, and um, you just you just don't always see those experiences with everything. You've got moments and ebbs and flows in life with ministry stuff. And so when those things happen, you're like, oh my goodness, what is happening? This is really special. And so that's just been really sweet. I've loved the church for so long, and I love getting to write worship songs for the church. And um, I will say that when the UK version came through to our computer and I saw Martin Smith singing, I burst into tears. I was like, are you kidding me? This is like, what an honor, because I've been so impacted by him through the years and his pioneering of worship music, and then to hear him sing a song that I got to help write, and it was blessing the UK like that and blessing all these people. It was just like, oh my goodness, God, this is so special for my heart. So I've loved it.